in spectrum allocation and using even for lens sensing as well. Um, let me, I think I'll just move on to, I think I'm coming close to the timeline. So uh, let me see. So yeah, that's what I was saying. So how it checks the radio scene is by estimating the interface temperature or detection of a spectrum hole. Because there could be multiple, secondary users who might like to use it. So it has to keep on checking how much interference there is, and so RF noise plus interference is defined as the interference temperature. Um, and it actually gives us the worst case scenario, the interface temperature limit. I'll maybe skip this one and maybe yeah, because in the interest of time, I'll just give you a small idea what is different spectrum. So looking at white space, similarly, black space is the one where there's a lot of interference or is actually being used already. So that band is a no-go band. Gray space is where there's a low power interference, so we can possibly use those bands. And white space is where there's no or it is very low, which can be used for communication purposes. So gray space and white space is something that we'll be keenly looking at. And then detection can be through single value decomposition. There are other techniques there. So I think I'll just quickly go on to the last. I'll skip this one. So in the interest of time, I'll just give you an idea of what is going to happen or what are other research challenges. So let's look at the users. So users could be wireless carriers. Defense is it's a big thing. It is, I think, very important as well for them. They need to have it to either jam the other users or move from one communication one band to another or different protocols when somebody is trying to jam your communication systems. Um, a lot of the these days the GPS and a lot of the location, a lot of these defense equipments are based on comms and reliable comms and location services. Then rural telcos can use it. Mobile content providers like Google, Facebook are using it. Public safety network is very important, and if there's uh, a fire or an earthquake or something happens, that's why community radio can be quickly deployed, software-defined radio. Usually smart grid can be used for IoT type of applications, cable markets. Then some of the resources that are available online, you can go, they are freely available. So Barclay has a emulation this, 80222 has a um, again the spec this is available, so you can go online and get the spec. Then there's a parallel standard P1900 which also works on again spectrum sensing and cognitive radio, but 8222 was the first standard in the world to incorporate cognitive radio within the standard itself. So when somebody says that their physical layer or equipment are compliant with 822, then they would have already done some implementation, maybe very elementary, of a cognitive radio. And there are certain startups as well, XMax and others, where you can just do a Google search and find out about them, about their work. Some of the research challenges is really hard to design a radio front end in software. Then a single antenna with a good gain across wide range of frequencies is very difficult. I'm again not a RF engineer, so I cannot comment. But whatever I know, that it's very hard to design a single antenna for across a wide range because of the physics or material characteristic that does not allow it to happen. Finding a suitable spectrum techniques. So we have a lot of them. They still, I think, can further be improved. Still very active area of research. Design of spectrum management and sharing. That's where I think ML, AI, and other techniques can be used. It has to work on a distributed data set and a good handoff scheme, because whenever a primary or a secondary user moves from one band to another, it should not have a call drop situation. It should just have a seamless. It should actually be transparent to the user that the bands have been used. So to conclude, cognitive radio can be effective way to improve efficiency of spectrum usage, and you can basically use to reduce the cost of services, because As I told earlier, that a lot of the costing goes into getting the licenses. So if the licenses can be fully utilized, uh, or even further improvement can be done if I can have more, 2 or 3 or 4 more users using the same spectrum in different times. Or also, I'm happy as a service provider, and that will actually then bring down our costing as well as a user. Um, Flexibility that is also given by cognitive radio technique, and the dream of a universal device, so that can actually be handling different frequencies, modulation techniques, and encoding schemes. uh, that can be done. So we don't really need to have different maybe handsets for different technologies. If I can use the same one for various protocols, even I can use the same handset for Bluetooth, for wireless LAN, for Zigbee, for 3G, 4G, 5G. Perhaps that is the best possible. So the dream of having a universal device which can handle range of frequencies, range of modulation technique, range of encoding schemes is possible by using a cognitive radio. So some of the key references, it's not limited, but that's just short this. And some of these are, see, like magazine articles. So I'll give you a small overview of how it is done. And if you look at the fourth one from the top, there is already a US patent. And actually, we also in our lab also did implementation of spectrum sensing and software-defined radio using USRP and other GNU radio. Uh, so that's something, and then you can look at the last one as well. Thank you. So I'll open the floor for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the nice session. Participants, you may please post your queries in the chat box or open to ask the queries from sir. If you have any doubt, any query, please post your query in the chat box. Anyone have any query?
Yeah, ma'am. Sir, someone asked, Ravi sir asked, what aspect will be handled by 6G at physical layer level?
Okay, so physical layer. So as I said, 6G is something currently being talked about, but most likely we will be moving towards even higher bands, moving above 100 gigahertz. So we're now talking about terahertz band, which is actually coming closer to the X-ray type of band. So we are moving up the band. So that is one thing that is coming. Then there are other, so that will have its own challenges. Like millimeter wave, when it came for 5G, it had its own signal processing challenges. So here terahertz as well. I think currently we're already struggling with millimeter wave, how to handle so much data. So there will be a lot of, I think, new modulation schemes will come in. We actually recently had one a small conference they were accepted, which will come online in a due course, where we are looking at terahertz, where new modulation techniques, how do we spread the sequence, because the data is huge. So terabytes handling within a second to have a, it's very going to be very difficult. So some kind of sparse processing will come. So sparse signal processing is one aspect that will come in. So 6G currently, these are some of the things we are talking. Plus the other scenarios like UAV communication through satellite communication, direct from satellite to home. So these are some of the things which are also we are discussing at the moment. So what I would suggest, I see there are a lot of questions on the ML and thing for 6G going forward. So we have published 2 white papers. So they are available on arXiv, open to anyone to have a read. And they're more of a visionary kind of papers. So I would suggest, yeah, you can maybe go to either you can go to my Google Scholar page and get a link to these two white papers. So they were so some of the things that we were working over the lockdown period. So around March and April, there's a bunch of researchers from almost every continent got together and came up with these white papers. So there's a one white paper that we given for machine learning applications for 6G. And then there is another white paper which is on rural connectivity that I have been involved in. Then there is another, set of I think 5 or 10 different type of white papers that have come out from different working groups. So I was involved in two of these, which you can actually, visit my Google Scholar page and get a link from there. They are an archive, so they're open for anyone to explore. Actually, on the same thing, if I am permitted, I can maybe do a small advertisement. We don't have much time as well, so people can maybe take a screenshot of this. I have so we are doing this couple of courses in November, December time. So I'm just doing a one hour thing for the webinar. I'll share this with details with Professor Mathur. So we're doing just one hour webinar on Beyond 5G. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So this one is just a 1 hour webinar. We're doing on 28th of November. Just 1 hour. So just give you an idea about what are the four key technologies going to shape the Beyond 5G communications. The links are there on this, and I'll share with Madam. And then there are two tech post courses. So one is AI, blockchain, and IoT for 6G in December. And in the end, there is another one on ICT technologies for Atmanirbhar on 27th and 30th of December, 3 days. So the links are open. I'll share these details with Madam so she can maybe circulate it to wider community. So these are some things that we are looking at, and I thought since we are all in lockdown, skills development over the period of time. So either you can take a screenshot or come in to this. So there we'll discuss more in detail on these. But I'll say for the curious ones, please visit the website and go look at these archive papers. So they are very, they don't have much math, or there's no actual derivation. Nothing is there. It's just concept notes, you can say, which we see for 6G. It may or may not come. That is a different story. Hopefully, some of this will translate into this. So as per my focus has been on machine learning and AI for 6G and rural connectivity. Those are the two things that I'm currently focusing on.
Now, sir, next query. You can see the questions in the chat box, sir.
Yes. So they're saying there's a testbed hardware. So we have a testbed hardware. We use USRP. We have done spectrum sensing. So we developed algorithms using MATLAB and all, and then we ported to USRP, and they work very well. And what are the possible for? Yeah. So what I will suggest, you can drop me a mail, and we can discuss about different ways of collaborating on 5G and beyond. So feel free. And also, if there are interested students or faculty members who would like to pursue PhD or research endeavors, we have an advertisement already out from Center for Advanced Electronics, a newly opened center at IIT Indore. Where currently there are positions for a FA or a college teacher category be explored. Also, electrical engineering, also the advertisement is going to come out very soon. So if people are interested, then they should apply for this. Other questions? I think they're doing a review. What are the key aspects to look for? Okay. So Rashna Sharma, you have had a query. So this again, we are doing a small TechWeb course. It's done by my colleague Apurva Das Gupta. Apurva Das. So we are doing this in first week of December, where we'll talk about scientific writing. So I have a 2-hour session there as well, where the focus will be on how to write a research paper. So I'll try to focus on conferences and journals too separately, and look at what are differences between, let's say, Elsevier and IEEE and their requirements there are. So if you're interested, you can join in for that course. Actually, the post coordinator is Professor Apurva Das. He's from chemistry. But I'm doing a session on this too, in detail, on how to write a paper and what the reviewers look forward to in the papers. Right. So I think anything specific to the talk that is there, please feel free to ask, or we can meet in some other, as I've said, there are other opportunities as well to meet and discuss online. You can explore that. Any other technical question? Any other thing that might have missed?
I think no more queries, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful and informative session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pal Madam. Thank you, Garima Madam, for coordinating everything in such a short period of time. But thank you very much. It's nice. And good
Dear
luck for the
participants,
other 6 days.
kindly turn on your cameras for a group photograph for session 1. Sir, just a minute for group photograph. Please be here.
Sure.
Sir, can you stop your screen sharing, please?
Okay, sorry. Okay.
No issues, sir. No issues. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There is an announcement for all the participants. Kindly mark for session 1 your attendance, like your name, designation, and your institute or organization name. After this session, we will maintain the attendance manually according to your present in the particular session. So please aware about the 80% marks in the quiz and 60% marks in the quiz and 80% your session attendance in all in this STTP. Thank you so much. We'll meet again at 11:45 for the next session. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, any attendance link?
We are taken automatically, ma'am. Vidisha, ma'am?
Ma'am.
Yeah, we
Sir,
are
we have to, excuse me, madam, we have to enter our detail in chat box, madam.
Yeah.
Okay, madam.
Yes, sir. Your name, your designation, and your organization name, please.
Oh, thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.